still blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North talk.
Yo, welcome to another edition AFC North Talk presented by Manscaped today. Shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring the show. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, and put that bell so you know when we come live. Because you know sometimes we come a little early, sometimes a little bit late. Our guy, the Steelers representative, couldn't be here today, so but he's doing his thing. So shout out to them after a big win for the Steelers. It was you know what? I jinxed myself. I don't know if y'all remember what I said as we were leaving the pod. I said we all pick every AFC North team to win. That means one of us won't be happy. And it happened to be me. But anyway, before we go, we have a couple of super chats already. Shout out to all of you. Super chats are a way to get your comments read. Ray right here says TJ Watt equals Carmelo Anthony. Myles Garrett equals LeBron James. I'll add that part.
Oh yeah, TJ Watt is Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Look, I said that. I put that out there, and I was like, look, you just look at how differently teams defend these guys. Like they defend TJ Watt like a really good player. They defend Myles Garrett as like an institution. Like it's insane what teams do to stop him. Did you see the two tight ends? Decided they needed to mirror him on a follow him no matter where he went. Like this is stuff that nobody else does for anybody else. And it's no disrespect to TJ Watt. It really isn't. Carmelo Anthony is a Hall of Famer, a baller, a bona fide baller, right? As Stephen A. Smith would say. But Myles Garrett is a monster. It's something different, right? Like
he's him.
He's the one. Like, you know, you worry about TJ Watt wrecking your game, but if you got a decent enough tackle, you feel like, okay, we can handle that decently enough. There's no tackle on the world that feels like, oh yeah, Myles Garrett, that's easy. We're gonna have like an 80% win rate on that. Like that's not gonna happen. Like that's just never happened. So it is what it is. I know Steelers fans are gonna be upset at it, but it's the truth. Like, what you want me to be mad for? What are you being mad for? It's the truth. And honestly, you ask any coach of the AFC North, they taking Myles over TJ, including Mike. Yeah.
By the way, I mean, it was insane, that clip. I think you were the one that sent it to us, or maybe it was you, Ace. I don't remember, because I didn't see it until you guys posted it in our chat, and I was like, okay, this is insane. And it was funny because the Titans kept like zigzagging with, and I'm like, okay, guys, are you just gonna get a delayed game? I mean, this is insane.
You want to know something funny, Sonny?
What?
He had 3.5 sacks in that game. Pass rush win rate of 36.4, right? Pretty good. You know what his win rate was the week before?
90?
40. Okay. He had a better game last week.
Okay.
So this was an off game for him. It's just in this game, they held the ball long enough to where he could get back there, or they weren't as terrified as, Canada is, and got rid of the ball super fast there. So yeah, it is what it is, man. Myles is that guy. Everybody else is trying to be number two. It is.
It's Austin here, says, I'm calling this the junkyard dog defense. When you cross the yard, it's a wrap.
Derrick Henry had 20 yards, man. And he got 9 of them in garbage time. I'm just going to put that there. Okay. Look at Tajay Spears' stats for that day. He ain't do nothing either. Okay. And Joe Mixon had the most impressive rushing performance of the season. Like if you factor in what people have not done versus his run defense. Joe Mixon having I think he had 70. Impressive.
Ella Taylor, shout out to you, man. Thank you for the donation or super chat. 2 teams I had questions about are the Bengals and the Steelers. I don't know how long until Burrow gets right. The Steelers, doesn't impress me, and their D gives up yards with turnovers. All your thoughts?
Yeah, we're gonna get into this, but
Yeah.
I don't look. I would be happy if I'm a Steeler fan because I think wins are not the easiest thing to come by. But that was not a win that I'm like, ooh boy, I should readjust. My Pittsburgh Steelers are gonna make the playoffs or anything like that. That was these were clearly two bad teams. Just one team's able to be closer to competent than the other, kind of like we predicted earlier on the show last week.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more in depth on it. I will say this: Steelers are glad they were playing Jimmy G.
And their defense benefits a lot from turnovers.
Oh yeah,
So play to play. If they get less luck, play to play, they're not that tough to score on.
I wonder, although I don't want to say turnovers are all luck, right? The turnovers are skill. The player made the play, and blah blah blah, right? But there was a couple passes I was telling you guys that Jimmy G. I was like, oh my god, who he was throwing to? Like, what is this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder when the Steelers face. And to be fair, Kenny Pickett looked better than before. I'm gonna say that too. He looked better than other weeks, but when they face a team that takes care of the ball, what would it happen? Like that would be a question.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think this Steelers game at least showed that they have life on offense, because I was like, all right, if Matt Canada cannot get yards against literally the worst defense in the league statistically, there's a problem. So I think that they show signs of life, but I think like you were saying, it's not like, oh, this is going to be the norm or the standard for them going forward.
By the way, Michael Brooks said this super chat from 2007. What are you talking about? Miles is like LeBron, doesn't show up when it counts. Hey, LeBron shows up when it counts? Let me ask you that question. Have you seen it
now?
Yeah,
I've definitely seen it.
I've seen it a ton. I don't know what NBA you've been watching. Okay, but yeah, Miles is like LeBron. Okay.
Yeah, look, I'm not a huge fan of LeBron James. I'll start with that. But
you a Wizards fan too.
Yeah, true. But I do appreciate his game, because one thing that drives me crazy when somebody criticizes LeBron when he makes the right pass, right? Why you didn't force the shot? What do you mean? These guys are NBA players getting millions of dollars. I had two guys. I passed to the open guy, wide open. He missed. But you can't go back and say, well, it was a bad play. No, it was the right play. The guy just happened to miss. Was the play the correct one? Yes. So that drives me crazy when people are mad at LeBron for no reason. Again, not a LeBron fan, so I'm not.
But it's cool. People who only look at stats and like listen to narratives, those are the people who also think that Miles isn't better than TJ. Like, those are the people that we should pay attention to when it comes to these kind of conversations. Because Myles Garrett versus TJ Watt, this is not a statistical argument. This is an argument about what your offensive coordinator thinks. What does your offensive line coach think? What does your offensive tackle think? Because I promise you, all the people, they don't want nothing to do with Miles way more than they don't want nothing to do with anybody else. That's it. You don't believe me? Listen, see how they protect against them. They let Max Crosby get one-on-one all day with the Steelers. They weren't following him, nothing, maybe a chip block every once in a while. Max Crosby's on a similar level to TJ Watt. So, they don't show that guy that much respect. But when Miles come to town, we bringing a tight end and following him and mirroring him, and we shifting lines, and we going to run out the pocket away from him and throw the ball. That tells you everything you need to know about who the people who are really paying attention to this think is the most dominant player in football on that defensive side. And that's the guy they're afraid of, Myles Garrett. No disrespect. Those guys are good. But Myles, the game around Myles is different. How they scheme around him, different.
Okay, so let's start with the Steelers. And I know some other super shows are coming. We'll take them soon. But let's talk about the Steelers game. Steelers game, look, I think we mentioned this last week. We all picked the Steelers. So look, we all picked the Steelers to win this game. And the Steelers have a couple good games, right? When we talk about after they started 1-1, we said, I believe there's 3 easy-ish games that they have, right? Raiders was one, and I believe the Cardinals
Texans is the next one. I don't know.
The next one.
Texans. Okay. I don't know if the Texans is an easy one anymore. I don't know.
Well, the Texans are a good team. They're just they're still a young team, right?
All
They're
this
still
sudden,
learning.
though.
I-
All of a sudden,
I
that
would-
trade look better, don't it?
I'm taking CJ Stroud over Kenny Pickett though. That's the
Well,
only
but
thing.
that's
Oh, yeah,
fine.
every day of the week
You
on
can do
Tuesday.
that, but we're talking about teams, right? But I don't disagree.
Mhm.
CJ Stroud and I have my questions about CJ Stroud, but the one thing with Kenny Pickett this week, he started super slow. It was very bad. I mean, it looked horrible. It got a little better. There was a pass to Pickens, like a 15-yarder pass, and that looked better. And then there was the Calvin Austin deep pass, and after that, I was like, okay, maybe this is what he needs, right? He needed that big pass completion to make it better. And then it went back and forth, right? He had a couple good passes, and then he had a couple of terrible passes as well. I feel the biggest problem that I see with the Steelers offense also is, and they try. This is not because of lack of trying. It's not like the Bengals sometimes. We'll talk about the Bengals later, but I feel like they abandon the run, right? It's not like the Steelers say we're not gonna run. They try, but it's not there, right? Najee Harris, I believe he attempted close to 20 attempts, right? And I believe my other dude that I'm blanking that I like a little bit more, he attempted over 10. So I'm sure that the rushing side was about 30 attempts, and they were still like it's a struggle. Like if they had some competent running game, it could help Kenny Pickett. The O-line, I thought it played better than other weeks because I think the O-line has been terrible also, right? I said this for the Browns the week before and for the Steelers also that there was no time. But in this game, it wasn't like Kenny Pickett play after play was harassing under duress. He had some plays that, yes, pressure was there, but it wasn't constant pressure. And he still didn't feel comfortable in that pocket. That presence of being in the pocket, I think, he's still missing it, right? Feeling comfortable there. Yes, he made a couple nice deep throws, but yeah, there's something missing there. And I think it's his confidence, that poise. I said it last week that I think he's missing the poise, but also the running game. If that running game can help him, but there's no respect for this running game because that running game, yes, they might have a big run here and there, but for the most part, you're averaging 2-3 yards at most. So yeah, I think the Steelers offense needs to figure out how they can run the ball more efficiency, and that will help Kenny Pickett. On defense, yes, we talk about it, they're streaky. And defensively, they do put pressure on the quarterback because they had they have two great rushers. Highsmith played well again. TJ Watt, I think, leads the league in sacks. So he played well again as well, right? The running game for the Raiders is horrible, right? We're talking about Jacobs. I don't know what happened. I don't know the holdout, that they are last in the league in rushing. So they were still, still haven't been good against the run, but in this game, they were effective against the run. Could be the opponent. And the passing game, they did good. Jimmy Garoppolo was throwing to them. They were picking them, and that's what you want. So all in all, a win is not easy in the NFL. We'll talk about the Ravens later, but offensively, still a lot of questions. I was saying to the guys, what will happen when they find a team that does not turn the ball over against them, right? What will happen then? We'll see. But anyway, a win, right? In theory, as Tony, by the way, Tony messaged us and said, what was the tiebreaker? Because the Steelers, in theory, they're first.
Oh, they're in first?
Yeah.
I think I heard something like them saying that they're also somehow second in the conference or something. I don't
Who
know.
cares? It's September. I barely even care who's first place in the division in September.
I mean, there's 3 teams 2-1, and then
Yeah,
1 and 2. So
I saw some people like being mad about that. Like, they handed the Steelers first place. I'm pissed. I'm like, guys, who gives a damn? It's September. Nobody cares who's in first. Who was in first place at the end of September last year?
I don't know.
I think the Browns.
Maybe.
Don't nobody care about that. You'll get a t-shirt for that, dog. It barely matters who wins the division in the year if you don't do nothing in the playoffs. Don't nobody really care. Like, Sonny, did you celebrate the division titles in 2019?
No.
Yeah,
I couldn't name the
celebrate,
ones.
was it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or 2018.
I mean, it's a fun topic to talk within your division. Yeah.
But it gets real sad when you think about it. You know what I mean?
But Q, what do you thought about this game?
Look, Pittsburgh's gonna have a limited offense. Kenny Pickett is what Kenny Pickett is. You know, I compared him to Teddy Bridgewater. I think that's a fair comp. It's like a Teddy Bridgewater-esque quarterback, kind of one of those guys you can have on the rookie deal, but once they get out the rookie deal, they become a backup somewhere else, and that's fine. I just don't think there's only but so far you can get with the dude like that, and I don't think the defense or the surrounding pieces on the Pittsburgh Steelers are anywhere near good enough to make any serious noise with that being around them. Now, again, Mike Tomlin's going to win some games because a lot of winning football games, especially when you're not playing against a good team, comes down to, can you be closer to competent than that team? And the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, Mike Tomlin, that team will always be trending closer to competent than any other team that's around their talent level. So they will find a way to win 9 games this year, but that's why I put their range at 9. I didn't say 9 or 10. I didn't say 7-9. I said 9. This is a 9-win team. This looks like a 9-win football team. No more, no less. Their defense is just good enough to win 9 games. And well, no, their defense is good enough to win 9 games, and their offense is just bad enough to win 9 games. They're a 9-win football team. They look like a 9. Did anybody else see anything other than that? I feel like it's a fair assessment that they look like a 9-win football team.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. I think that the thing is, when you say you're 9-win team, there's always a ±2, I think, either way, right?
No, not with the Steelers. It's 9. Like,
It's
I'm
9.
not going to give them the plus or minus. No, it's 9. Like, they have 9 wins in them. They're not going to get below that, and I don't think they're going to get above that. So if there's any plus, it might be in the positive direction because I just trust Tomlin that much, but they're a 9-win team. That's a 9-win football team if I've ever seen it.
Gotcha. Ace.
Yeah, I mean, this team, the Steelers, they did what they were supposed to do. They were able to generate some points on offense. I know a lot of people have probably seen that visual floating around with showing how bad they are in terms of EPA and stuff like that. But they were able to actually get something done, I think, in this game. And I think that what I wanted to say before my service went trash was that this was a Matt Canada legacy game. Because to go against this defense, bro, if you just showed like no signs of life and no points, I really felt like before they gave him this promotion that it was like, oh, his job could be on the line in this game if they don't come out and do their thing. But they clearly gave him a promotion. I don't think that it was an amazing performance at all. I think it was amazing for the Steelers because this guy has never had I believe 400 yards of offense in any game since he's been the coordinator. They had about 300 and some change. I think the big difference in this game was obviously the turnovers. You know, Jimmy G just kept giving them gifts after gifts, and you can't win football games that way. It still was weird because the Raiders were still in position to win this game, and then they did that weird thing where they kind of went for the 3 instead of going for the 7, and a lot of people were like, what's going on right now? But Josh McDaniels is going to Josh McDaniel. And when you play into a competent coach like Mike Tomlin's hands, this is what happens. I do think that this is a stretch where the Steelers can garner some wins. It's going to really be against those teams with great quarterback play. How is Kenny Pickett going to show up to those? I think a big thing for Kenny is, you know, he's toned down the interceptions, at least in this game. You know, some of those other games, that's where Kenny starts to get in trouble is when he starts kind of gifting the ball. We'll see. I think this Texans game is actually very interesting for sure. Just the way that CJ Stroud, as I mentioned earlier, is playing and how that affects, you know, that matchup. But I think that the Steelers did what they needed to do to take care of business, and they're winning the games that they need to win. Like if they drop any of these games, some of those games where they have to play, you know, possibly within the division or some of those tougher quarterbacks, they could be in trouble. But I think they handle business. So shout out to them. It was only the Raiders. The Raiders aren't really a good team, but they took care of business.
By the way, not to deviate, because the Raiders only beat one team so far this year, and again, it's week 3. But that team that they beat, they lost 70-20. Dude, I went back.
They beat the Broncos.
Yeah, I went back and I was like, how do you lose 70?
220.
70 is crazy.
Oh my
Whole
god!
Devin Booker.
And it wasn't like the Broncos, like they didn't give up like a bunch of pick sixes or something like that. And it's not like Tua had an amazing day. You know what happened? It was Florida. It's hot. They was down by 20. And Ace, you've been out in that sun. If you was playing professional football in that sun and you're down by 30, at some point the goal stops being, let me stop them from scoring a touchdown. And the goal starts being, let me do what I got to do to get back on the sideline where we got some need. Okay. Because that's what it looked like. It was like, hey, dog, you don't tackle. Like, we try to get back inside.
Yeah, well, the backup for the Broncos, not for the Broncos, for the Mike White.
They never put the backup in. That was nasty.
Mike White in, and he threw a touchdown to Robbie Chosen.
No. I'm saying that the Broncos never did.
Robbie Chosen scored on passer 10 for the 70th point.
Yeah,
that's why I'm like, yo, that's disgusting. Like that. Look, that loss, and I'm gonna state it here. Either the Broncos come back and they play well after that, or that's done. We're gonna find out next week, because if they don't bounce back from that, they're done. They're done. The reason I say that is leaving your starters out to dry in a game like that. You're down by 50 points and you leave your starters in, Sean Payton. Yeah. That is gonna get the team to immediately go and say, screw you. Like that lingers. They will remember that. And if things continue to go south like they look like they're going to do for the Broncos, I wouldn't be surprised if they're done with Sean Payton. Like if it's the reports are out there, if the reports don't start getting out there by like November, that team is over Sean Payton already.
So Judy out is right now in the trading block, apparently. I mean, I saw the rumor, and the Browns and the Patriots are looking to it.
They're going to be playing with undrafted dudes next year.
How long is Devontae Adams staying on that team, dog? Because I don't.
On the
Raiders.
I think he's about to come get me. Come get me.
Yeah.
Mike Evans had one of them come get me games too.
Yeah, that is true.
He was like, I'm tired of saving you and you getting all the praise.
I was like, my God, Mike Evans going back a couple years.
Mike Evans was proving a point, because everybody was like, oh my God, look how great Baker looks. And Mike Evans was like, I had 175 yards. Who do you think is the? And then Mike Evans was like, look, I'm going to play bad for like 8 drives. Y'all going to see he not good. And then for 1 drive, I'm going to play well. And then he going to look good again. It's me. Okay.
Okay, so James B says Browns rated highest of any AFC North team in latest Yahoo Power ranking. I can see it. And then for real, this one says Steelers offense equal LeBron in Space Jams to flat.
Damn. Yeah, LeBron is not the greatest actor of all time. You know what I mean?
Do you remember Shaq?
He needs to learn to pass the ball. He needs to learn to pass the scripts like he passed the balls, dog. Yeah. We don't need to see no more LeBron movies.
I mean, no more house parties. Don't do it.
No more house parties. That was terrible. Okay. No more white man can't jump. No more producer movies. I'm out of the LeBron movies, man. They bad. They bad, dog. I'm sorry. I don't care if he film them in Cleveland no more. They bad. I can't watch them. I was watching a LeBron movie and was like, man, I miss Tyler Perry. Like,
oh man,
whatever happened to Q Vision? Like, that's what it had me out here thinking. Like, what happened to Q Vision? We used to make films back then. Now we making this, LeBron. Come on.
Mitchell here says fresh batch of first in AFC North for y'all. Kenny Pickett's first in yards and TDs, TJ first in sacks, and Steelers first in the division.
Hey, congrats to them. Let's see if that lasts.
Steelers have an elite D, except versus them.
Oh, stop it. Elite?
They're good.
They're all right. Like, they're pretty. They're a good defense. Elite? Jimmy G was moving the ball on them. Elite?
I would say this for the Steelers defense. This is what I think is elite when healthy. Their front four is elite. their
Sure.
front four is elite when they're healthy, right? Because they're
But you
missing
may
Cam
be an
right now.
elite defense if you only got one thing that's exceptional about you. Like your
That is-
secondary is not exceptional and your linebackers are not exceptional.
I think they're elite at getting turnovers.
They are elite at being lucky. Let's call it what it is. They are elite at being lucky. Like they are a very fortunate defense through 3 weeks. Like they have gotten like Deshaun Watson plays some of the worst football I've ever seen him play in his life. In that game, and they get like a fortunate turnover at the beginning of the game as well. Like they're a very fortunate team right now. They're getting the bounce of the ball right now. There are teams that get a ton of fumble opportunities, can't get on it. Like the Browns defense is playing better. They don't have as many turnovers because, well, the ball's just not bouncing their way when they get a fumble. They get the strip sack opportunities. It's just, sometimes you get lucky, and they have been consistently lucky. I'll tell them that. Like when it comes to the fumble.
Kenny
TJ Watt must have a football magnet.
Kenny Pickett leading the division is a little nasty. That is.
Let me tell you, they're one decent Joe Burrow game away. Ace, that's one decent Joe Burrow game away. That's Joe Burrow half.
We just needed Deshaun to have a pass of like 12, one more pass of 12 yards to keep us out of this, man.
You know what I mean?
David Miner says, "Where's DB? DB cannot come on Tuesdays, and like we said to you guys, we're trying to rotate some people. We're gonna talk to him to see if he can come back on Friday. But yes, so you might see him sometimes here, sometimes other people. So, yep. Eric says, guys, we already had the edge rusher rankings, so we did. By the end of the year, we'll see. But yeah." Great Flow says real test for Browns defense 40 versus 49ers. How will they do? When do they play the Niners? It's gonna be a while, right?
After the bye.
After the bye.
No. It's 2 weeks. What's 3 weeks?
Week 7, okay.
Yeah, because we play Baltimore bye week, San Francisco at home.
Okay. Yep. So and that's a good time to get San Francisco after a bye. Ray Rack here says Browns have allowed an NFL low 3.2 yards per play this season, best by any NFL defense through 3 games this century. It also has helped Cleveland force 3 and outs on 61. That's a nasty stat. Of a piloting drive. Also best through 3 games since 2000.
Wonder what defense they talking about in 2000. Sonny. What defense do you think put up those type of numbers through 3 weeks? You know what I mean? I wonder if we knew in 3 weeks if that defense was that good. I don't know. I don't know. Were they saying bad offenses in 2000 as well for whatever team that might be? Because I knew this defense was absolute butt cheeks 3 weeks into the season last year. It don't take that long to make a negative diagnosis, but boy, a positive one. We want to wait till like 3 years after the fact to make any determinations, don't we?
Ray Rack also says after the game, McDaniel said we needed 2 drives anyway. They were down 8 when he kicked the field goal. Does he not know the touchdown at 2 points? Well, maybe he's not good at math. Maybe
let's be fair to Josh McDaniels. I'm gonna be fair to Josh McDaniels. Y'all, it's one thing to talk about getting a 2-point conversion when you got a regular quarterback.
That is true.
He got to throw Jimmy G out there for the 2-point conversion, dog. You don't want to do that shit. But again, he chose this life. Remember this. Josh McDaniels chose this life. He had a better quarterback at Derek Carr. It was like, nah, I'm going to opt for the Jimmy G experience. But who expects this dude to make sense? Because this is the same guy who thought it was a tremendous idea to trade up in the first round to draft Tim Tebow.
Yep. The Ravens appreciate for that because they traded with us.
Josh McDaniels is undefeated at making controversial moves that ultimately get him fired. Like that's his greatest trait as an NFL decision maker.
Yeah, and then to be fair, McDaniels might be a decent coordinator. We've seen this in the past, but a terrible coach.
I don't even think he is. I think he's just Bill. He just gets hidden under that Bill Belichick banner. Like, has he ever been a good coordinator for anybody else other than Bill? Like,
he hasn't been a coordinator.
The Colts dodged a bullet. Remember when he like turned the Colts down? Like, nah, dog. You know, I think they dodged a bullet with that one.
They did. They dodged the bullet with that. And it's like, again, with Josh McDaniels, is he really a good coordinator?
Well, your boy Mac McCorkle used to call him under Josh because he was better.
How many coordinators from the Patriots we've been like, oh, they're good, and then they go somewhere else where they get full control, and they turn out to be absolute frauds. We've done this. Romeo Crennel might be the only guy I feel like, or Mike Vrabel. Like, those are the only two that have like had success outside that system that are almost like the Belichick guys. Like, other than that, like, I don't know if Josh McDaniels is actually a good offensive coordinator. Nothing I've seen when he's had full control of any offense makes me feel like that's the case. Like, what have you seen in Denver and here that makes you go, yeah, he's cooking on offense? Nothing, not a damn thing. And he's had decent quarterbacks. I think he's just overrated, overhyped, and he's always been overrated and overhyped. And he'll be out there being quality control for Alabama by the end of the year.
Now, I think Bill will take him back. I think Bill takes him back. 49ers have Mr. Relevant at QB, not Watson yet. Got 30. I don't know why we keep referring up Purdy as Mr. Relevant.
Is that Nova Stone's burner?
No. Oh, burner. Well, to be fair to Nova, I don't think he refers to him as Mr. Irrelevant, but we have a couple people here that it's like
Brock Purdy didn't have the greatest game this week, and neither did Lamar. So I don't know if we're gonna hear from Nova Stone this week. I think he's gonna be a little quieter. Unless he decides he wants to rock for Gardner Minshew, which would be on brand for him.
Or a Brady tweet or Brady super chat. He always has a Brady super chat. Browns D keeps this up, will be comping to 2000 Baltimore.
I'm gonna let that happen when it happens. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Not gonna say that. Nope. Don't play. I don't play around with 3 comp. I don't compare anybody to Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, or Troy Polamalu. I leave those alone. Okay.
Before we go to the Ravens game, Ace, let us know about a sponsor.
Fresh Ball Fall is upon us, and you need to be in the festive spirit. Light a candle, get some pumpkin spice, and make sure your balls look nice with our sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. Nature may clear the leaves of their trees, but you'll need Manscaped's help to get you ready for that sweater weather. Get your pants, puppies, prepared for cuffing season with the trim as refreshing as the fall breeze by going to manscaped.com and using our code AFC North Talk for 20% off plus free shipping. Have you guys ever had to try to trim a little down low and ended up cutting yourself or ended up having a painful and torturing experience that caused you to grow a ball fro? Well, in that case, you need to use Manscaped. They've got nice flannels. They've got nice, cozy trimmers that they're able to use with skin-safe technology that reduces those nicks and cuts to make raking the leaves a lot less painful. That way you don't have to worry about that, guys. Plus, the lawnmower is a technical masterpiece. It has a 7,000 RPM motor, a multi-function on and off switch, which can engage a travel lock, and a built-in 4000K LED spotlight to help you see the parts of your body you haven't looked at in years. Once you've cleared the driveway, sorry guys, the performance package comes in hot.
By the way, shout out to Manscaped because this is written by somebody in Manscaped, and whoever writes this, you're muted. You muted Q.
But no. In all seriousness, guys, the crop preserver, the ball deodorant, the ball spray. Let's say this about Manscaped.
No, I want to hear about these ball sprays. Tell me about the ball sprays. Eh?
Ball sprays work. Okay, let me just
tell me about these balls.
Tell you guys about my own experience with Manscaped. It's definitely a great product. It definitely gets the job that you need done. It's something that you can definitely use every day. It's not something that you have to be ashamed of. It's not something that you have to sneak around. It just helps you keep your hygiene way more better. Your wife or your girlfriend is going to love it. And the boxers are amazing. I will say that. Like, I still wear my boxers to this day from Manscaped. Some of the most comfortable boxers I've ever had. It becomes a part of your daily routine. So bring in fall right, get 20% off with free shipping. Insert our code AFC North Talk at manscaped.com. That gets you 20% off. Once again, that's AFC North Talk at manscaped.com.
Your balls will thank you.
For sure. And look, it's a great product. For sure, it's a great product. Okay, there's the Nova Stone. What happened to
Where'd it go? Josh
There you go.
owns.
There he
Josh
is.
owes Tom Brady for success / employment as his owner. That's right, because Tom Brady's a minority owner
He's the
over
owner
there.
of the Raiders. That's not
Yeah,
really.
I forgot that.
So, do you think he has something to do with Jimmy G? You think Tom Brady was like, let's bring in Jimmy?
Tom Brady know he asked. Why would he do that to a team he owns? Like,
I thought he didn't like Jimmy, so I thought it was kind of like I don't know.
Who's the one? It was Derek Carr. He never liked, right?
Was he? I don't remember.
Derek Carr. That was the one where he was like, "You don't want me because you got him," and it was Derek Carr.
Because he wanted to go to the Raiders.
Yeah, he wanted to play in Vegas.
Well, I remember Tom Brady, if I remember this rumor correctly, that he wanted to go to the Niners. I think Aaron Rodgers also wanted to make it to the Niners. And both times, Shanahan has been like, nah, we have whoever. They
Which
might have
is
been
Shanahan's problem because the greatest quarterback of all time wants to come in there, but Shanahan's like, nah, I got my system.
Yeah, I got my system. Yeah.
And that's why he don't ever win those Super Bowls, man. Like
Close enough, but never there. Okay. Let's talk about this Baltimore Ravens. What a frustrating game. And I'm gonna get this out of the way because if I don't say it, I'm gonna get killed in the comment section. Yes, it was a horribly ref game. Yes, they missed 2 crucial penalties. The one that still has my head scratching is the one that there's a face mask. They're pulling down Zay, and they call a illegal block in the back that is happening next to it, and I'm like, what? And then the problem with that play was they gave them a timeout, so no time was burned. And then yes, at the end, if they would have called holding or pass interference, whatever they wanted to call, it would have put Justin Tucker in field goal and a first down, and maybe we could have won the game. So getting that out of the way, we deserve this L. Zay, although I like him a lot, he needs to remember that I want him having more awareness, right? So last week against the Bengals, there was the deep pass that he stood up and flexed, and instead of just trying to get to the touchdown, right, to the goal line. This week, I understand that also Harp said, like, well, we thought it was less than 2 minutes, and then they put time back. But as a player, he had a space, right? At this point, we're winning. All you're looking for is to burn clock. Before the first catch, you can even grab it and stay there until somebody just comes close to you and take a knee. Why are we first catching when there's nobody there, no one there, and you're looking to burn clock? I mean, this is also on Harps, right? Lamar had another one of those games that you're like, not a bad game, but not a good game.
What's up with him fumbling so often?
That is a problem that he has, that he's having, right? He had it in year 1 as a rookie, and then he corrected it, and then this year again,
he's back to like one hand palming that ball again.
So he needs to correct that. This is a game. So I talk about how well this O-line play against the Bengals, right? In this game, it was hit or miss. There was times that you're like, damn, Lamar has nothing, like meaning nobody around him. And then there was times that McCarry on the left side, and we're getting Myles Garrett, so we'll talk about that in the preview. The left side was getting killed, and in the center there was a bad snap in the one play that ended up being. I mean, we were lucky that we covered that one back. They were sloppy. Justin Tucker missed a 61-yarder. And that's deep, but still, he was straight. He was just short. On the defensive side, the defense played decent. I mean, they gave up a bunch of field goals, 50s, a bunch of 50-yard field goals. That kicker was on point for the Colts. Pat Queen had a bad game, in my opinion, not only because he got beat in a wheel route on a touchdown by Moss, but he was over pursuing a little bit more than usual. Well, he was showing me some tendencies that he showed me before Roquan. Hamilton had a hell of a game. Hamilton had the game of his life. He had sacks. He was PBUs. They were lining him all over the place. Now, all in all, like this game came down to losing the turnover margin, right? We were -2 in the turnover margin. We lost by 2 points or whatever it was, and that was the game, the turnover margin. And then people will tell me, because we started this game -7 starters. We finished the game with only one active running back, which was Melvin Gordon. And you can see that they don't trust Melvin Gordon that much because he has fumbleitis throughout his career. Saying that, the thing that worries me is it's week 3. And yes, no quote-unquote major injury that season ending other than JK. But teams that usually start hurt, it's not like they get healthy throughout the year, right? The season pounding. It's not like, oh yes, I'm gonna get pounded through the year, and now somehow I'm gonna get healthy as a team. No, and that's what worries me. Yes, the Ravens are really hurt. Like scraping the running backs. We had one, right? We had only one at the end of the game. And there's other positions, Odafe leaving and Ojabo then left in this game, right? So then we were only 2 deep at outside backers. But the problem is, when are you going to get healthier? And yes, again, there are a lot of nagging injuries, but it's not like there's a bye next week, right? Our bye is like week 8 or 9. So it's concerning with the injuries. Offensively, you do stuff that you're like, okay, I can see it. And then, to be fair, when Gus Edwards was there, they were running the wall really effective. Gus leaves, the running game takes a hit, and Justice Hill wasn't there. Yeah, I mean, this is a game that you're like, damn, the turnover margins, and that's how they beat you. But you need to take care of the ball. And again, I know Ravens flock. Yes, we're hurt. But the problem is, when are we going to get healthier? It's hard to get healthier in season. So shout out to the Colts that they beat us fair and square. I know my Ravens flock will say yes, but they were egregious penalties in the point of attack too, meaning where the play was happening. But you cannot lead the last call to the refs, right? You should have taken care of this game earlier, so you wouldn't be in this position. So, Q, what do you think of this game?
I was shocked that the Ravens found a way to lose this one, because there were like 2 moments where you just felt like this game was over, right? There was the one moment before when Justin Tucker was out there to kick the field goal. We've all been there before. You know, he's going to make it. He doesn't make it. Okay, fine. It's a 61-yarder. But I believe after that, they got Gardner Minshew on the safety, right? To step out of the back of the end zone to go up 3 points. And they somehow... Well, Michael Pittman Jr., I think, was that overtime or was that the end of regulation where Michael Pittman Jr. makes one of the incredible...
Overtime. That was overtime, but I don't think they
ended.
Scored on that drive. They didn't score on that drive, though.
Yeah, it's just like... with this Baltimore defense, they kind of can get a little frustrating. And I think like sometimes you can see the creativity that they're forced to use to get a pass rush can sometimes be to their detriment, right? Because what are they doing a lot? If you look at their edge rush numbers, I think, at least by watching it, Kyle Hamilton is by far their most utilized pass rusher. Like, he had like 8 pressures in that game, 8 free runs, where he was just consistently running after the quarterback. I think he had 3 sacks.
He did.
Yeah, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for losses. But when you have to use Kyle Hamilton at the line of scrimmage, it's pretty much another linebacker. You're losing a corner. You're losing an extra body in coverage, and you already don't have the greatest cover corners in the world. You got Ronald Darby and Rocky Sin right now. Like, is that what they're rolling out most downs?
Yep. Well, Stevens are rocking, which he was a free safety converted to a corner, and
And
he's
then
been playing 100% of snaps.
you got
And
to
they're
do a lot of
flipping.
funky stuff back there. Roquan Smith, we know where he's good at. We know where he's not the greatest linebacker in the world at. Like, we know what the issues are there. And I'm not saying that that's why the Colts were able to win this game, but it wasn't as strong of a performance in any way that you dice it up that you would want from a Roquan. And Roquan right now is looked at as a guy who's supposed to be the best defensive player on that team. And I don't think that's been the case. I think you can make the case that it's been Kyle Hamilton so far this season, because you really just haven't seen it like you would want to from Roquan. And then you flip over and look, these injuries are just devastating for the Baltimore Ravens. The offensive line injuries, like there's no way around that. The run game injuries. Like did Gus Edwards finish this game?
No. So he left for the concussion, and then we had
Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon,
was
Zay
there.
Flowers, and Kenyon Drake, who came in and fumbled.
It came in fumbled, but then we had to use him because when Gus left, they were using him because I think they trust him more than Melvin Gordon. But then he left too because he got hurt.
Who, Melvin?
No, Melvin was the only one we had basically in overtime.
Your run game right now consists of two players who are not running backs. It's Lamar Jackson and it's Zay Flowers. Those are your best two run options right now. It's too much on them because guess who your pass offense is right now? It's Lamar Jackson and it's Zay Flowers. It's the whole offense is Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers. That's it. That's really it. I mean, I know Odell's hurt. Mark Andrews, I mean, like this has been a disappointing start to the season, and it's coming off of a down year last year. Was it a down? Yeah, it was a down year last year. Okay. So it was all right. It wasn't what we thought it was going to be. The leap we thought he was going to take. So you sit there and you look at this Ravens offense, and you're like, how are we in the same spot again? I thought we got rid of Greg Roman to not have Lamar have to take 14 carries and run for 100 yards. I thought you got rid of Greg Roman so you can have more guys, so a Nelson Aguilar or a Mark Andrews or a Rashad Bateman. What happened to him?
He was not. He also left in the game. He also left during the game. He got injured.
Jeez. So with Baltimore is like I don't know when the injuries start and when the actual blame comes in, but what is obvious right now is that this is a team in trouble. Offensively speaking, defensively, they're all right, but they're clearly not good enough. And also this run defense. I kind of talked about it last week. Nobody wanted to hear it because the Ravens won that game, but it was a little bit too easy to run on them the last couple of weeks for these teams. And then you get to this week, Zach Moss has 122 yards. Mm-hmm. Zach Moss. Y'all know where Zach Moss played in college?
I don't.
I didn't know Zach Moss was on the team until Jonathan Taylor started holding out. So
to be fair, on the run game, there was basically two runs of like 40 yards around there, 30 to 40 that Zach Moss had. That Ojabo, one of them, lost edge containment, and then he bounced there, and again he ran like 30 or 40, and then Weston Clowney, whoever was playing for Ojabo on the other side, Moon, like a fifth streamer on a normal day. He's playing outside back. He played a bunch of snaps because, again, we got a couple people hurt during the game. He also lost containment, and then there was another 35 to 40 yard on this side, on the boundary on the left side.
I get that, but where was Roquan Smith? Ain't that why he there? Like, ain't he there? Isn't he there so that if somebody does lose contain, it's a 10-yard run instead of a 40?
It all depends where he's playing. If he was playing on the right side, and then
comes into the question, well, how much money is he actually worth? Like if you can't expect him to do the thing that he's elite at, run stop. If he can't impact the game enough to stop Zach Moss from getting 122 yards, he needs to play better. He needs to be in the right run fit, or they need to do a better job of making sure that he has the flexibility to come in and stop those kind of things. Either way, you're not seeing what you want from Roquan. You're not seeing what you want from the defense. And offensively, I mean, Lamar's been fumbling. You had the good game last week where we thought this was all kind of going in the right direction. But then this week, it's a combination of those injuries. It's a combination of everything else. And it doesn't look good. Ultimately, it's September. It's hard to make a season-long prognosis on this team. But the issue is that we don't know who's going to be healthy for them.
That's the problem.
And we don't know who's going to stay healthy for them. Because at the rate that they're using Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson, that's not like good, the odds that they're playing with that. So I don't know what's next for the Ravens. Again, this is a team I have no idea what to do with. It's a bad loss at home to the Colts, like that's for sure. It's a loss that they should not have taken. And like I said in the preview show, if you lose this game, you're really just going to have yourself to blame. And we're here. And who do Baltimore have to blame for this loss? Themselves.
Yep. Yeah, I will say this. I think the defense, because the defense is even more hurt than the offense right now. The fact that basically it took their kicker to have a historic performance, right? No kicker in history had hit 4 50-plus field goals, right? If you have him in fantasy, you probably were loving him. For them to score, right? They scored the 1 touchdown, but other than that, it was just long field goals. I can live with that with my defense, especially how hurt they are. Offensively is where I would like to have a little more. But Ace, what do you want? What do you have to say?
Yeah, I think in this game, one of the reasons that I said on the pregame that this was going to be a close game was because of the weather. And the weather was definitely a factor in this game. I think the Ravens' mistakes on offense definitely hurt them a lot. We talked about the ball security issues. Lamar Jackson, if the refs don't call that penalty last week against the Bengals, Lamar Jackson would have had a fumble in every single game this season. Kendrick Drake has the fumble, and then you also had a botched snap by the backup center that forced a punt. So those were things that really hurt them. The Colts, they just stuck around, man. They were able to somehow, like Q said, when this game was kind of finishing up at the end, most people probably changed the channel. They're like, oh, the Ravens won this game. This is over. Like, game over. And then it wasn't over. And then as things started to linger, it's like, okay, this is kind of crazy. And then the Colts are able to do something just because they basically didn't turn the ball over. The Ravens lost this game based off of turnovers.
Yep.
The Colts, they just didn't turn it over. Gardner Minshew, though, I think a lot of people didn't look at him as a serviceable backup. And, you got to remember this is a guy that at one point was a starter, right? So it's not like if the Bengals would have had to throw in Jake Brown and that you're getting the same level of backup. And I thought that he weathered the storm well, even though he was sacked 5 times. The Ravens offensive line, we didn't get to him, but when I saw them against the Texans week 1, this is kind of the line that I kind of saw in this game. With them allowing Lamar to get pressured at some points. There was an impressive one where Lamar actually got out of a sack where 2 of the guys met him and he was able to get out of that and still make something of it. So that's concerning. Like, can they protect Lamar? Because you guys are talking about health. The one guy that cannot go down on this team is Lamar Jackson. And you cannot let him get hit that many times, get sacked 4 and 5 times. So that's something to keep an eye on. Michael Pittman, that was a huge catch that he made. I remember it happening. It didn't really do much in the game because I believe the Ravens got the ball back. When you talk about Zach Moss was definitely an X factor in this game because of the rain. Him getting those 30 carries, them sticking to the ground game that allowed them to stick around in this game and let things linger. The one thing that I will say, though, the mistakes and then the missed field goals. Like, this is the second game in a row, Justin Tucker. Now, I'm going to give him slack on the 61-yarder because that's far. But this is the second kick that he's missed in 3 games. And I don't think we've ever seen that. I don't think we've seen him miss a kick in like a season almost. So, like, I don't know if it's the weather or what it is. That's just something to keep an eye on. And then there was the weird thing where they said that he had like a injury or something like that. I don't know, but Justin Tucker is a big part of the Ravens offense because he's able to get points in those situations where they need them, especially in these games where they're close. He's going to be a guy that's going to help them out. So this one was a little shocking to me. I wasn't shocked that it was close. I was shocked that the Ravens didn't pull this out because I was sitting there the whole time thinking, oh, Ravens are going to pull this out, especially it goes into OT. They're going to do something. You wouldn't think in a game that Lamar Jackson really, outside of the fumble, he really had a good game in terms of the 200 passing yards, 100 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. If somebody is telling you that's what his stats were, you're probably like, oh, the Ravens won the game comfortably. Like, there's no way they lost that game. That's the biggest head scratcher, I think, from this one is that the defense, I think, played well. I think that they're getting pressure and finding unique ways to make that happen. So the only thing is they couldn't get a turnover, and sometimes turnovers are luck, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people just fumble and stuff like that, or you make the wrong read. But unfortunately, their offense couldn't deliver in the key moments, and in some instances, the special teams. So tough loss for them. We'll see how they bounce back next week.
Yeah. The most concerning thing about that game, if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, is like that last possession where you just had to get 10 yards and you could not muster a way to get 10 yards. Like you just needed to get in field goal range. You got the ball at like the 50, right?
The one where Lamar takes that sack, that was a bad play by him, where he ran back and then because his knee went down.
Let me call out another guy because Isaiah, like the one.
Isaiah Likely with that drop.
He had a drop. It was a pass. It was there. He catches it. I think then the field goal becomes like 40-something yards, right? And then obviously we didn't even attempt a field goal because we couldn't push the ball there. There's something.
Yeah, that drop is disastrous.
No, it was just.
I could not believe I was watching the Baltimore Ravens do that with Lamar Jackson healthy. Right. That just was not on brand for them.
Yep. Okay, we have a couple of super chats. LJ never gets calls, just like Tom refs bias. You talking about Tom Brady always got
They invented rules to give Tom Brady more calls.
Yes. The first catch is Harbaugh. Yes,
habitual line stepper.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it is. I'm just saying more. Yeah, I would have wanted the players also to be to Harbaugh, to whoever. Even the special team coach, because our special team coach hasn't been good this year. They're like, why are we for catching it? Right, because what the Ravens did, they were thinking maybe they're gonna do a outside punt, I guess, because I never seen it, but I guess that's a thing. And they didn't, right? So they had Zay Flowers all the way to the end. Why nobody said like, why are we not gonna burn clock? If you get it, burn clock, and if somebody gets close to you, you just take a knee, right? You take a knee, and if they happen to hit you after that, that's 15 more yards, right? But for now, grab the ball. You burn as much clock as you can, even if it was on the other side of the 2-minute warning. Because at this point, you will need to burn time, and your running backs are getting hurt. So just have it, run as much as you can. Not forward. You can just run in circles if you want. I don't care. And then somebody gets to you, take a knee.
I love when like a punt returner decides they don't want to touch the ball. They see it's about to get to the 2, and then they like think about grabbing the ball. Like, what are you doing, dog? Like, the damage is done. I can fix it. No, you can't. Leave it alone. You already sucked. Like, you're getting yelled at by coach. Like, that's coming.
Michael Brooks. I think he was the one that
was hating on LeBron. That's calling me a hater. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy, Michael.
And then we have Ray Rack here. Says, I feel sorry to any fans who has to watch the Broncos versus, and that game should be free. That
it is.
Should not be charged to go to whoever. I don't know if it's in Denver or in Chicago, but
it's sad. Like the Broncos should win that game, but if they don't, man, that's what I'm saying. If the Broncos don't win that game, Sean Payton's not going to make it to the end of the season. Like the only way the Broncos lose that game, and look, the Broncos are not good. They're better than the Bears. Okay. The only way they lose that game is if everybody after Sean Payton let those dudes out to the fourth quarter is like, you know what, coach, screw you. Like, I'm done. I'm done with the season, dog. I'm not trying hard. They already don't like Russ. They might not like the head coach now. Like, stop getting I don't understand it. I don't understand why there was such a rush to get Sean Payton in the first place. I really don't. First round pick for that. Like as if they haven't given up enough. Yeah.
because they didn't have a first round pick last year, and for some reason, Miami for Chubb gave them a first round pick. And they traded that for Sean Payton.
Talk about bad trades that you get to run away from. That Bradley Chubb first round pick trade, that was bad when it happened. Hey man,
I will say, if you drafted Justin Fields this season like I did, it's not looking good right now, bro. That's why I know a little bit about CJ Stroud. I had to pick him up off of waivers because Justin Fields is not looking
I'm here
good
to tell you, Justin, it's done. It's over with. The kid is cooked. And look, it might not be his fault. We could parse out the blame later, but it's too much damage has been done. By this point of your career, man, if it's going like this, it's a wrap. It don't. When does it ever get better? When have you ever seen it get better for somebody once it reaches this point?
Yep. Now, well, yeah. At this point, he might be the backup next year, or this year. I don't know.
At this point, he's gonna be backing up Lamar Jackson next year once they lose Tyler Huntley. That's what's gonna be happening.
Yeah,
like, he's gonna be in the AFC North backing up somebody. Okay, either Deshaun or Lamar, but it's happening.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, right? The Chicago Bears, and Q put a good point. I said, like, well, they might have both Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams, but it's also the Bears, so
so it might not matter.
It might not matter. Like, can you imagine if you're a Bears fan and you get those 2 draft picks? I mean,
and you still go 3-13 for the next 5 years.
That would be sad. Thoughts on the Miami-Denver game? David, we talked a little bit about it, and Q put a good point that because the starters was left there, we'll see how the locker room reacts going forward. But it was nasty.
Ain't nobody trust nobody after that game, man.
Yeah. 8 touchdowns to running backs is crazy.
Monster. I was playing in fantasy. I play against Monster this week.
You know who I benched? Devin Achane. 50 points left on the board. I don't even want to check the score for this week, man. I don't even want to.
By the way, you talk about Robbie Chosen. First of all, I did not know he changed his name. I did not know he was still in the league. Yeah, no, now it's just Robbie Chosen. He dropped Anderson.
He switched it from Chosen Anderson.
It's the back of his jersey says Chosen.
Yeah.
I had no idea who caught that touchdown.
Yeah, me either. I saw the picture.
They told me that was Robbie, the former Robbie Anderson. Yes, Robbie Chosen. Yeah. Hey, man, long list of wide receivers who's done that. Shout out Chad. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I agree. Like you, I did not need. Okay.
Meta World Peace, man. See, no, let's not make fun of Robbie Chosen. That's a fun thing athletes used to do, which is change their name to something crazy just so they can get it on the back of their jersey. Remember, World Be Free? That wasn't his birthday. You know what I mean? But World Be Free, basketball legend. So more players need to do this.
Robbie
Noah Stone. Okay. Look at Noah Stone. Purdy. 25, 37, 25, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, blitz 33 of 39 yet. Bad. I guess that was Q. You said Purdy didn't have one of the greatest games this week.
I didn't even say it was bad.
Yeah. It wasn't as good, I guess, as others. I think.
Yeah. Who are they playing?
Who they playing?
The Giants.
Oh, okay.
That was that Thursday night football game.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I already forgot on Thursday night. Thursday night's so far that I just like.
Hey man, we know when it starts to matter for these Kyle Shanahan quarterbacks. They gonna look great in the regular season. We know this. You know what I mean? They on Dak watch. Which, by the way, shout out Dak for starting the playoffs early, baby. Shout out to Dak. You're losing to the Cardinals and Josh Dobbs. Shout out to Dak.
I forgot that. Yes.
Josh Dobbs put 28 on them.
David here says injuries are random for 31 teams for Baltimore. They are expected. It's sadly really a reality. I'm assuming spend money on medical and training room. I mean, they
fired that one guy.
Yeah, they changed it.
No, this is just bad luck. Like, this isn't even anything that they're doing. I couldn't imagine. They play on natural grass. They practice on natural grass.
Yeah.
I really don't think this is anything that Baltimore has control of. They have a really nice facility. They have a good medical staff, all that. Like, they're near some good some good hospitals. Like, they're in Maryland. There's no reason they should be this injured.
Yeah.
It's just bad luck.
I agree. I agree. Okay, and then Professor Chaos here says 172 points in fantasy football. I had
Mozart,
Monsters, and Hill.
you knew that game was cooked when Tyreek Hill scored the first touchdown and celebrated with the fans.
Yeah, that's
Literally.
yeah,
That's what I was like, oh, this game's over.
Yeah.
Like this game, they clearly know. Look, there were 2 moments this week where we should have known the game was over. That and on Tuesday, when Travis Kelce went on his podcast and publicly asked Taylor Swift to come to his game. I don't know about you, but Ace, you invited the girl you like to the game, you know you winning. Like that's you're not inviting her to your rivalry game.
No.
You like, hey, we about to play Valdosta State this week. You try to come see me do my thing? Like, yeah, that's what we should have known, that Bears game was over. Like he invited not just a woman to that game, the woman, the most popular woman in the world right now. And she came, and you knew what it was when he got there. He was scoring at least one of them, and he was going to be ready to go to dinner by 7. The game didn't end till 7:30. You know, it was one of them type of times. Like,
that being said, let's talk about the Browns, because the Browns of all the AFC, we talk about the AFC North went 3-1. But there was only one game that essentially was a complete domination. And we talk about, at least in the preview game, I said, like, there's only one way this game becomes close. It is if the O-line for the Browns doesn't show up and the D-line for the Titans comes to play and pressures Watson. And that didn't happen, really. That didn't happen. Watson had the best game as a Browns quarterback, and it was a total domination. Defensively, well, we talk about throughout the show how great that defense has been so far. Henry, nowhere to be found. Tannehill has been done since last year. They drafted 2 quarterbacks in the past 2 years trying to figure out if they can replace Tannehill.
They ain't got so bad you saw one of them play.
Yeah.
You throw that one out there, for the second time this season. You know what I mean? Shout out Joe Burrow's backup. We saw him. We saw him week 1. Mr. Browning.
And with all that being said, just the Browns had a great game. And the question here now is this the game that the Browns need? And really, the defense didn't need this. The defense has been playing great. Is this the defense that Watson needed to basically get some of that confidence, right? The O-line needed to get some of that confidence and move forward. There's not much you can say about this game because everything is positive, right? Everything was just a well-designed game plan and well executed, and Watson did his thing. I want to hear from you, Q. What are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah, Watson needed that game. I don't know if Watson needed that game more than the fans needed to see Watson have that game, because I think that's who needed the game the most, is the fans, to be honest, because people were just starting to be really concerned about if he has the ability to look like he did on Sunday. And look, the more and more I look at it, the more impressive this game looks, because my initial thought was like everybody else. Yeah, the Titans must have been playing terrible defense. You look at the film, it's not the case. Titans are playing some decent defense. Like, there was one play where they got beat because they just didn't know what they were supposed to do, that Amari Cooper touchdown. But every other play, like, they were sticking. They were real sticky with the play action stuff. They were really disciplined in their zone. Like, they were playing some decent defense. They were even trying to get some pressure there with Jeffrey Simmons. It's a good front. Watson was better, right? Watson made some incredible throws in this game. He looked more on time, looked like he trusts what was there. And most importantly, he looked patient, right? He was willing to take what was there and then willing to use that to break it over the back of the defense. Now, that doesn't mean that Deshaun Watson's back automatically. That doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, he's going to put up 400 versus the Ravens. I think it's going to be a gradual process. You'll see a couple of good games here, a couple of bad games here, a couple of good games, and maybe it stabilizes itself in November. But that's going to be okay, because let's talk about this defense. This defense, you could say it's September. You could say it's one team. You could say that team's not that good. I don't see that happen to NFL teams often. And you don't see it happen to 3 NFL teams 3 weeks in a row often. And look, let's keep it real. The Bengals offense, they haven't looked great, but they haven't looked that bad. None of those wide receivers who played badly in that game have looked that bad since that game. So you can't just blame it all on the one game. Or even Pittsburgh. Their offense looked significantly better once they weren't playing the San Francisco 49ers or the Cleveland Browns, right? Like all of a sudden, Kenny Pickett looks like he can maintain a job in the NFL. This defense is serious, man. Like you can deny it or not. This defense is serious, and you can look at this defense up and down. You don't see a weakness. These linebackers were terrorizing with run fits all day, terrorizing with pressure all day, terrorizing in coverage. Grant Delpit is terrorizing out there with run coverage, everything. The safeties, the corners are good, and then the defensive front is impossibly good right now. Not Za'Darius. I'm not gonna get to him yet. Dalvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst, especially. Those two, huge difference in the middle. Now they're getting pressure up the middle. Now you're losing those one-on-one battles. Za'Darius Smith and Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett's playing on a different level than he's ever have in his career. He's an alien right now. Like he's unstoppable. There's nothing you can really do. He's inevitable. He's Thanos. He is him. Like that's what it is. And you look at that defense, it's like, where's the weakness? Where do you want to attack? Do you want to attack the secondary? That means you're going to hold the ball and let Myles Garrett come to you. Do you want to run the ball? Because Derrick Henry could not get over 1.8 yards a carry in this game. Is that the plan? Like, what's the plan? Now, the Titans don't have the best offensive line in the world, but that's the point, right? If you have a weakness on offense, that's all it takes. Like, that's all it takes. Have one weakness. Your offensive line is good, but your wide receivers aren't that great. That's the weakness. We're going to take it. They can take advantage of any weakness an offense has right now, because right now they have not just good players on defense. They have great players on defense at almost every level. You know, Denzel Ward's still on this team, playing very, very good football, really good in coverage. Martin Emerson, really good. JOK is playing at a really high level. Same thing with Grant Delpit. And then you got Miles and Za'Darius Smith. No defense has had that for a very long time. And this defense, look, I know people were telling me in the offseason that Pittsburgh had the Super Bowl quality defense. I ain't seen Super Bowl quality out that defense yet. You know where I've seen Super Bowl quality? That Cleveland Browns defense. 21 first downs in 3 games they've given up. They've given up they've had 4 plays being, well, no, not 4, 2 plays be ran in the red zone on them all year. And that's only because Elijah Moore fumbled. What more can be said? Like, these numbers aren't just good. They're impossibly good. And maybe they don't keep up this pace, but if they regress 20%, they're still the best defense in the NFL. So, you know, I know a lot of people don't want to believe it, but you look at it, the talent's finally matched up with what we've been saying for years. Oh, this team's talented. They could be this. We know what they could be. Well, now they are. And they can be better. They can be so much better. So this defense, really good. The offense, look, the run game is going to take a little while to get there. The passing game is going to take a little while to stabilize, but that's fine because this defense can take you for a long ride. So that's my thing about this Cleveland Browns defense. Look, it's pressure city. They're getting pressure with 4. They're stopping the run with 5 guys in the box. I don't care at what point of the season you could do that or what team in the NFL you could do that against. If you can do that in the NFL, period, is stop the run at a high level with 5 guys in the box, I'm sorry, you're a dominant defense. Yep. It doesn't matter when you do it or how many games you do. If you could do that one time, you're a dominant defense. No, look at how many guys are in the box for Baltimore right now. It's like 8. Look how many guys are in the box for Cincinnati. It's like 7, 8. And they have good defenses. Pittsburgh, same thing. Browns can put 5 in there, stop the run. That's how you know what it is that they have on defense. Now, will they keep the same level of domination up against better teams? No. Better teams are going to execute. Better teams are going to take advantage of the 1 or 2 mistakes that this defense makes. Sure. But this defense is not going anywhere unless they get like a rash of injuries, knock on wood. You know what I mean? This is who they are. This is who they've been all throughout all camp. This is who they were in the joint practices against Philadelphia, and this is who they've been all season. This is what this Browns defense is. I've seen enough. For y'all, it might have been 3 weeks. For me, I've been watching this for 7. It's been this for 2 months. We've known this. So now we're just seeing it in real games, and it is exactly what it's been advertised to be.
Yeah, we talk about how the team had the names in the offseason, and can the names finally live up to, their name, right? Can they live up to the hype? And they have, right? So far, so good. The defense has been no short that great. Ace, watching this game, for me, this is a game that if you're Cleveland Brown, you're excited. If you are a team they're facing Cleveland Brown, you're like, oh my god, how can we attack this defense? And if you're if you are the Titans, you're looking at it as, are we drafting a quarterback again next year? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I had a couple of things to say about this one. I first said that I trust Deshaun Watson more than Ryan Tannehill. That proved to be right. I think that this is probably the best performance we've seen with Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform. 27 of 33, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns. Everything wasn't pretty, right? Especially when he had some decisions that he made early on. But that's what you're expecting to see from Deshaun Watson. The defense, like Q said, having Jim Schwartz has definitely made that an X factor. Having Myles Garrett have help has made that an X factor. Titans, I tried to tell you about 2 years ago when we had to play you guys on the way to the Super Bowl that year. I tried to tell you, Andy Dalton, Ryan Tannehill, welcome to the Andy Dalton experience. This is what you get from him. He's not the guy. You need to either pivot to someone else. You need to either tank at this point. Ryan Tannehill isn't going to get you that at promised land. He already had to go against a vaunted Cleveland defense, which is crazy because the week prior to that, he put up, I think it was 27 points against the Chargers. Then came across this defense, and then the week 1 performance, he had a horrible performance as well.
Yeah,
he's just not it.
Fired.
He's just not it. And then the other thing I said was Cleveland's run defense was going to have to show up. They clearly did that. Like we talked about earlier, Derrick Henry was a non-factor. And really, when you kind of stop Derrick Henry, you pretty much stop the Titans offense. They don't have anything else to really pivot to. I know that they have DeAndre Hopkins, but it's Ryan Tannehill throwing him the ball. So when you shut that part of it down, that's impressive. I think what they were able to do, just even with, I believe that was Maurice Hurst as well. He had a pretty good game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the defensive line altogether had a good game. And I also thought I liked them getting Elijah Moore involved this week. Before he wasn't getting as many targets. They kind of went to him a lot earlier. Donovan Peoples-Jones made some plays. Mari Cooper made some plays. So you started to see the Browns offense emerge, especially after losing a guy like Nick Chubb. Everybody kind of wondered, would they shift to more passing? They were able to show that they could pass. They also were able to show that Jerome Ford could be serviceable, getting 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt also had a nice run. I think it was a catch and pass or something like that, but he looked pretty good on that play. But I think right now, as Q was saying, their defense is playing amazing. We'll see. This is going to be an interesting matchup to talk about on Friday between these two teams to see who comes out on top. But, yeah, the Browns are definitely being led by that defense, but Deshaun Watson is in there. We saw him this past weekend. So let's see how they continue to move forward.
I got significantly less mentions during this game than I usually do from some of our AFC North Talk faithful. I wonder what happened. You know what I mean? I wonder what went down. Guess we'll never know.
David here says, pay Grant Delpit.
Delpit is balling this year for sure. He's looked different.
And Russ here says Micah, defensive player of the
Micah Parsons.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It can't be because he's a Bengals fan, so it can't be.
No, ever since Q said something about TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, that has been the comments.
You can tell it bothers them.
No.
It bothers them when I say the truth because they don't want it to be true, but they know it's true. Y'all know it's true. Stop coping. You know what I mean? Got Bengals fans out here caping for Micah Parsons. That's how you know it's now bad. You couldn't even tell yourself to lie and say it was going to be Trey Hendrickson. Could you? You couldn't even fix yourself to tell that lie. So you had to go to Micah because you didn't want to talk about TJ either. Look, Bengals fans, man. I'm just happy y'all finally won this week because I'm happy to have y'all back. It's been hard without y'all in here doing y'all thing. I'm so happy y'all won because y'all would have went 0-3, man. It would have been as fun trolling them stripes. You know what I mean? Like y'all would have took the fun away from the season for me. But I'm glad y'all won. We're gonna talk about that.
We're gonna talk about it now. Look, it's crazy to see this Bengals offense to still struggle. And this was one of the best games moving the ball. I mean, Chase at the beginning of the game, he almost looks frustrated at the beginning of the game. And then as the game progressed, they start getting him underneath, and then eventually some deeper routes. I also think this is, as a sidebar, I think what the Bengals are in their best is when they're giving the ball to Mixon and playing from the run. As the games had gone, I see Mixon being a little bit more involved. T. Higgins, I don't know if T is pressing too much. He had a couple of drops that I was surprised.
Well, he was so good the week before too.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it just might have been a day for him. You know what I mean? Like it might have just been.
But the question is, because he also in the first week he was non-existing, right? And then,
but that had more to do with I think that had more to do with coverage and Joe Burrow's ball placement in the rain. And because there were moments where he had to almost made a great play. This one was just he just wasn't there. It just was one of them games.
I agree. So, and Cincinnati was taking a lot underneath, right? They were taking a lot underneath for the first 2.5 quarters. And then they started, I feel like, Los Angeles, because Los Angeles was basically saying, here, take everything underneath. Then they started coming down a little bit, and Burrow was able to hit them a little bit deeper pass. O-line was better, but it wasn't great, but it was better than some of the previous weeks. I don't know, Ace. I feel like there's something missing. And I was watching this game because obviously Monday night, and I'm watching the game. I'm like, I cannot pinpoint what is it, right? The defense played well enough, had 2 picks against Stafford, but at that offense, right? I think everybody's concerned about the offense. The defense, it was normal if they take a step back because of the 2 safeties, 2 leaders leaving the team, right? Logan Wilson had a great game with 2 picks, but the offense, there's something missing. I personally cannot figure it out. What is it missing?
I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's Joe Burrow's calf. I mean, we know that wasn't Joe Burrow that we saw last night. That Joe Burrow was still enough for them to win the game. I do think and agree that the offense has been inconsistent. I think a lot of that has been due to a mix of what to call with Joe Burrow's calf, especially with the limitations and stuff like that. We kind of saw it last night because we didn't see it against the Ravens, them take deep shots. Jamar Chase clearly got them to take deep shots, and we saw when Joe tried to throw, I think about 2 or 3 of them, they just weren't on target. And I think that has to do with the ability to plant and stuff like that. But I'm not really worried about the calf as much because I think it can only get better from what it was last night. At first, when he was talking about playing in this game, I was worried because I'm like, the last time I saw Joe Burrow when he threw the touchdown was him limp off of the field. And for him to have the recovery time and to watch him limp across the street and stuff like that, I was like, oh man, can we make this situation worse? And so I think, honestly, the offensive line has played amazing. I mean, the Bengals offensive line is tied right now for 8th in the league in terms of sacks allowed. This is a team that just a year ago, or week 2, gave up 15 sacks. They've only given up 5 sacks. And, 2 of those are Aaron Donald, which is, you could put him in the Hall of Fame and put his gold jacket on him right now. He's that guy. The defense played amazing. The offense was up and down. A lot of that, too, I feel like was the script from Zach Taylor. He kind of talked about that after the game as well. He's got to be better. They didn't really try to run the ball. It was a little strange to see a guy like Joe Burrow be put in that situation and drop back 51 times. Like, you would think, like, given the concern everybody had, whether it was doctors on Twitter, whether it's Pat Mahomes' trainer or whatever, like, you wouldn't have thought that Burrow is going to throw 51 times in this game. T. Higgins, I think, like you guys said, he was off this game. He just had some bad drops. He had one catch, like, basically taken away because he got called for a push-off. That also kind of took some points off of the board. And I think that once the Bengals started to use Chase in a way that actually made sense, that is when the offense started humming. That is when they started doing things that they should have done. And that was Chase's point last week. Like, he is the best player on this offense. Everybody, when they game plan for the Bengals, the reason why everybody's playing too high shell is because of Jamar Chase. So you have to still find ways for him to be effective. On the drive that they actually scored, they were actually able to do that. They moved him around in the slot. They put him in the backfield. They still went to him. And that was one of the things that really made me upset last week when they played the Ravens is they didn't even try to attack the too high shell at all. Right? Like, I get it that they're going to show it, but you at least got to be willing to attack it. And yesterday they finally tried to do it, and they were able to come down with the Jamar Chase reception on the sideline in between the corner and the safety, right in that gap up the sideline. So they were able to do that. So I like that they were able to take more chances. I didn't like the fact that they've only gotten to the red zone. I believe it's like 1 or 2 times in these last couple of games. They've got to get to the red zone a lot more. They didn't do it in this game. Special teams, I feel like they came through. Money McPherson, he missed the first one, made like 4 straight after that. A couple of 50-yarders in there. But the defense in this game was the biggest draw to this game. I don't think Lou Anarumo gets enough credit for the masterclass that he performed against a guy like McVay, where their offense was not efficient, especially on third down. We were able to force key turnovers. Everybody before this game was talking about this rookie receiver coming in, and a lot of people forget too, the Rams were the number 1 passing offense coming into this game. A lot of people didn't know that. They were an explosive offense. A lot of people were like, hey, Baltimore just had some success on you. This team is having success. Matthew Stafford is playing great. This wide receiver is playing great in Puka. How are you guys going to slow him down? The Bengals were able to do that. I feel like the only player that really was able to do something on that Rams offense was probably Tutu Atwell, right, who gets the touchdown there at the end. But Puka was – I don't know where Puka was at, man. He got a seatbelt put on him. He had a deep catch. I think that was about it. Cam Taylor-Britt is super underrated. Cam Taylor-Britt was extremely physical with that kid. He did his thing. A lot of people have been talking about the safety play. The safeties are not why the Bengals lost those first 2 games. I mean, honestly, Dax Hill had an interception in the first game. There hasn't been like things where people have been blowing miscommunications and stuff like that. And I was glad that people could see on Monday Night Football Dax Hill, because Dax Hill has been playing very good since the preseason. Now, we can talk about Nick Scott. We can have a conversation about Nick Scott, who hasn't lived up to the Von Bell kind of performance, but you could almost say like Dax Hill and Jesse Bates are completely different players, but Dax Hill has not disappointed at all this season, and he had a lot of key plays. You talk about that sack, and that's something that I knew that he could do from watching this film. He's one of the fastest DBs out there. I mean, the kid runs a 4.3. You saw how explosive he is. He adds another dimension to the position. And then another guy, Mike Hilton, like obviously on here, Tony has told me about Mike Hilton with the coverage issues. He had some issues last night, but what Mike Hilton does are the little things that help you make plays. On the play that Logan Wilson is able to even get the interception, Mike Hilton tips that ball to change the trajectory for it to go to him. And that's what Mike Hilton's going to do. You're going to send him on blitzes. You're going to send him to do different things like that. And that's what he's able to do for this defense. The young kid, DJ Turner, loved what I saw from him because once they started to see that Tutu Atwell was a problem, they put DJ Turner on him in the slot. This guy was keeping up with Tutu Atwell like it was easy. It was kind of crazy to see. That 4.2 speed is definitely real there. But on defense, the biggest two guys, Logan Wilson with the 2 interceptions. I mean, Logan Wilson in coverage is crazy. Seems like he's always around the ball. He's always making a play. So Logan Wilson, and then the defensive line. Last week, they were a no-show against the Ravens. The first week, they did pretty good against the Browns, which is a great line. This week, they were back to what we saw week 1, and it was just from everywhere. Trey Hendrickson went crazy. As soon as that left tackle went out of the game, it was over for him because Trey Hendrickson just had a field day from there on. But I also liked what I saw from B.J. Hill. DJ Reader gets the first sack to start the drive, which was an important drive because at first it seemed like on the Tutu Atwell play that they scored, and then the Bengals end up holding them to a field goal, and a lot of that was due to the DJ Reader sack that he started out with. And then you talk about the young kid, Myles Murphy. I know a lot of Bengals fans have been a little critical of Myles Murphy. I've literally said, I mean, the kid only played 7 snaps in this game, but on one of those possessions, he actually takes on a double team, and it leads to Sam Hubbard getting a sack, and he almost got a half a sack himself on that play. So the defensive line and the defense overall really played well in this game, especially against that Rams offense that was red hot going into it. And I think that the offense will continue to get it together. I think they looked a lot better in that second half of the Ravens game than they really did in this game. And I think that they'll get more comfortable over time. I think once they get to learn and figure out what they can do with Joe Burrow's calf and the limitations, which I think they took strides in this game on, I think now they know that they can still have Burrow to chase at a certain level. You talk about Jamar Chase getting 140 yards in this game, a quiet 140 yards. But I think we know that we can get Burrow to chase. I think we saw on those plays where he hit T and there were drops that we can get him there. He did have the interception. That was just a hell of a play by that corner with the one-handed interception. And so we saw that they can do things with the Migos. We saw that Joe Mixon can run hard and close out games. However, they do have to be more consistent. But I think that this is a great stretch for the Bengals right now. You got the Titans coming up. You got the Arizona Cardinals coming up. So the Titans, you're pretty much familiar with them. And then you got the Arizona Cardinals. And then you get the Seattle Seahawks, where I feel like, okay, that's where we really see where Burrow's calf is. You get a week rest, and then you go into the 49ers game. So the fact that they got out of this with a W was a huge W. I mean, no one, especially if Jake Browning plays, there's no way they get out of this with a W. I can confidently say that. And then they were able to get out of it without Burrow retweaking the calf. Like if he would have had some kind of setbacks, even if they won this game, that's still an L because he's potentially sitting out. So for me, it was a big win. They needed it. It was a must win for me because you can't go down 0-3. You've seen 0-2 before, but you have not seen 0-3. And I think that this just buys Burrow another week to get stronger with that calf. And once that's better, they'll be fine. So love what I saw from the defense. Offense can improve for sure with the consistency, but I think that they're going to eventually figure it
out. Q, what do you thought about this game?
Yeah, the only thing I thought was Joe Burrow is clearly not himself. Like they had him out there playing like old Big Ben, right? Like literally that's what that looked like, was old Big Ben. Get rid of the ball in 2 seconds, no matter what. There was even like a deep ball where he just kind of chucked it, just hoping it would open up. That was old Big Ben stuff. So yeah, not much you can really take away from Joe Burrow here in this game. He played, he was enough to win, right? I think that's a fair assessment. He was enough to win. He definitely left things on the board. He definitely is not going to be parading this tape around proud of it. Like this is not one of his better games in the NFL. But I think that the Bengals did a good job of playing around Joe, right? That's the criticism of the Bengals. Oh, they're just Joe Burrow. They're just this. They're just that. Well, Jamar Chase did a great job of supporting his quarterback, right? That's what he was able to do. Make some yak opportunities, make some big plays happen. When they were there, take them. And I thought that this defense did a great job of containing Matt Stafford. Although the Bengals defense definitely deserves credit, but can we talk about how awful, and I mean awful, Matt Stafford looks right now? Like They had that one play where Tutu Atwell almost scored. They called it a touchdown. They reviewed it, said he stepped out of bounds. They get the ball at like the 1 yard line. They end that drive on like the 20.
Yeah.
Like, and shout out to Trey Hendrickson. He was a monster.
Yeah.
All day long. Trey Henderson was absolutely a dog in this game. He's going to go unsung because a lot of other people are going to get credit for this win. But Trey Hendrickson absolutely deserved the game ball for that victory. Really just destroyed the Rams. The Rams really didn't seem interested in chipping him at all. And even when they did, even when Matt Stafford had time, he had nowhere to go with the ball. So that's just a great job by that Bengals secondary. And I think we can say it too. Like, I think two things can be true. This Bengals defense looks like it's back to where it used to be, right? Because that was a concern last week. Is this defense good enough to kind of get away with some slow starts on offense like they used to be? Because nationally, people always talk about Joe Burrow. They always talk about the 3 wide receivers. But us here, who cover this division week in, week out, we know that Bengals defense is the unsung hero of this run that they've been on. So that was encouraging. That's huge for the Bengals that defense looked as good as it did. But two things can be true, right? The same way the Titans aren't that good offensively and the Browns are really, really good defensively. Yo, the Titans, man. Not Titans. The Rams, man. I don't know about them anymore. Like, I feel like that first game was a mirage because there's no way, right? Like, that's what they had, like 3 red zone. How many red zone drives did they have? They had like 4?
Yeah, I think it was 4.
Yeah, they went to the red zone far more often than the Bengals offense did.
Yep,
for sure.
Every time they got to the red zone, it's like everybody decided that they're going to forget how to play football. I have never seen so many bad sacks taken, so many horrible pass attempts, so many just mind-bending play calls in one game in the red zone ever. So credit to the Bengals defense. But we need to start actually talking about Matt Stafford. And if, we kind of thought that he was back on being not cooked. Oh, he's back on cook watch. You know what I mean? Let's put him back on cook watch. We thought he got away with it because he played well for like 6 quarters, but he's back on cook watch. Back on cook watch. Deshaun Watson off cook watch. Matt Stafford on cook watch for this.
Wait. So they were saying Matthew Stafford was playing good and he threw 2 picks against the 49ers before.
No. I said 6 quarters.
No. I'm not saying that. It wasn't you that said that. It was like Rams fans coming in and they were like,
because Matt Stafford always throw 2 interceptions, whether he play well or not. You know this. You know this with Matt.
They were like, he's looking like Stafford from the MVP year, and I'm like, hold on, this dude was coming off of a game with 2 picks.
Wait, he had an MVP.
No, the MVP, the Super Bowl MVP.
You don't remember that?
Oh, the Super Bowl.
The year that he went, yes, but still, remember we talked about it on this show.
Oh, with Megatron.
People were saying that he should be an MVP candidate, and we were like, dog, it's Matt Stafford. And they were like, he's amazing right now. And then he started having the 4 interceptions.
Every year, man. Every year we act like we don't know who these quarterbacks are. Yeah. Like, Kirk Cousins will have like a hot 3 games, and we'll act like is he rewriting the book on Kirk Cousins?
That year, Stafford had a 67% completion percentage, 4,800 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions.
And I believe 4 of them interceptions happened in the last 2 weeks of the season.
Early in the season, though, people were like, "Oh, he's MVP candidate. Oh, he's going to win the MVP." And then he had like a meltdown game where he threw like 4 interceptions, and then that talk just went out the window.
Because we know what it is with Matthew. We know what it is with Matthew. He's better than like Kirk Cousins, but like kind of.
Right.
But yeah, Matt. I mean, like, look, the cold truth is that if it falls off for Matt Stafford, it's gonna fall off, man. Them turnovers are gonna start rising for him. So I think, look, he's young, he's old too. So like, the longer the season goes, the more fatigued he's gonna be, the less zip's gonna be on that ball.
And that left tackle not being in there is a big problem for them. Like Sean McVay, I can see where Zach Taylor gets some of his strategy because his tendencies, they're very similar. They don't like to run the ball, it's very dependent on the offensive line being good. And when that tackle got out of that game, that
No
offense
chips.
changed, dog.
No chips. No nothing. He was like Trey Henderson. How would you like to make the Pro Bowl? Like that.
Well, guys, that's it for us today. Make sure again subscribe and like. Oh, one thing, guys. Obviously you don't have to super chat, but if you want to help us a lot, just make that sure to hit that like button. And before we go, I do have to big shout out to Alan Holland, Duncan Zulu, Luis Cousin, Leo Sell, Ray Rack, Wesley Worrell, and Christian Rod. Thank you for supporting us a little bit more in the Patreon. We appreciate that. Thank you everybody for joining us. We'll be here later this week to preview week 4. Man, we're already in week 4 of the NFL. So shout out to all of you. Thank you.
Brown's about to be done with half-day division games after this one.
That is true. Take it easy, guy. We'll see you next time. Peace out.